Spiral Throwers, welcome back to the channel. Today we are talking about the LBC Prep Kit from LBC, stands for Linebacking Crew, and we are going to use it to break in a brand new Wilson official CFL ball. I'm not going to do a review of this ball, but you can get these on Amazon, you can get them at Litson's here, probably Marchand as well. This was on sale for $100 on Amazon a couple of weeks ago, so I grabbed one knowing that I was getting a prep kit in the mail. We're gonna break it in. Let's talk first about what comes in the kit. These guys use what they call football prep butter instead of mud. So inside, I'll give it a little shake here, show it to the camera. Interesting texture of this. It's like very liquidy. I don't want to spill it, but very liquidy, and has like a very intense smell. Definitely not the same as what I have in my backyard, I'll tell you that. They have here two conditioners, step 1 conditioner and step 2 conditioner. I don't know what the difference is. One seems to be a little more viscous maybe than the other, but we'll find out. We have 2 microfiber cloths, which are both needed in the process. We have a pair of probably, I don't know, 4mm maybe nitrile gloves. We have a stand that you're supposed to use to put the football on while you're waiting for things to finish. We have a tack bar. This is actually significantly different than the tack bar that Wilson gives you, which is right here. I use this a little on my GST. It feels, the tack isn't quite as biting, but it is like softening almost. It's hard to say. I like it on the GST. We'll see how it is on the CFL ball once we're done. And then there's also 2 brushes here, a paintbrush for the mud, and I think this is like a nail brush, it feels like. Yeah, I don't know, a Magnolia brush is the brand. This is, I think, a little firmer than the Wilson brush, maybe. It's, what's the best way to describe this? I'm not sure, but it's not the same texture as the Wilson brush, I'll tell you that much. And then obviously there's a rather in-depth set of instructions here. I don't know if they care if I show that on camera, but it doesn't matter, I paid for this, so we'll see how the process goes. So I'm gonna do this per the instructions, and I'll speed up the video a little bit and maybe take some liberties here and making sure this is like consumable inside of, let's say, 20 minutes. But I think this is gonna take all day. Looks like it's gonna take at least a couple of hours of drying and waiting, and then as well, sort of whatever else comes. First step, obviously, is gonna be to brush with the ball here, each of the 4 panels up and down in circular motions for 2 minutes per panel. So let's do that. Okay, so we've done all 4 panels here. Everything looking a little darker, a little slicker, the usual, brushing a ball. Second set of instructions here is the step 1 conditioner. So it says shake container, apply half dollar. Half dollar used to be a weight, I think, like $1 was a weight, not a currency denomination amount, but you can fact check that. Anyway, apply a half dollar size amount to a microfiber towel and apply, what does that say? Size amount to a microfiber towel and massage into each of the 4 leather panels. Avoid the white stripes and lace areas. I'm not going to avoid the white stripes because they're painted on anyway, but on a GST you might want to avoid them. Allow to dry for at least 1 hour. Okay, so let's see. We have the step 1 conditioner. Shake it. It says to wear gloves for this, so I will do that. I don't usually wear gloves for this kind of stuff. If you have a nitrile allergy or a latex allergy, actually I don't think you can have a nitrile allergy, but if you have a latex allergy, this may give you a bit of grief. You could always use my old technique, the doggy turd bag if you really want to. Okay, let's see. So I'm gonna get, what's it say? $50 microfiber towel, massage into each of the 4 leather panels. Okay, we'll do that. So let's just put $50 on this. I don't know how much $50 is. I'm gonna do about a loonie size, I think. I think that makes the most sense. But, so give it a good shake. This is the step 1 conditioner. Let's see the, no rehearsing on this channel. You know what we will do? We will have a look at the texture of this together when I pour it out. So there, I think you can see that, right? It's pretty thick, actually. So I'm gonna use about that much, I guess. I don't know, that might be too much, but we'll see. And you just massage it in. Oh, this is pretty, it feels kind of slick, but we trust the process here, no problem. You're wearing gloves, I think, more than anything, so you don't wind up wiping off the product you're putting on the ball. If I had to guess, this thing is kind of annoying, but whatever. So we're just rubbing this in here, each panel. Now it also says that if you want the ball to be darker, I don't know how you're supposed to use this thing. This thing not that great. If you want the ball to be darker, you can do this multiple times. So I don't know, maybe like a dark ball. I much prefer to have a ball that feels good. I don't care that much about color, so I'm gonna do this twice. It says you can do as many times as you want, or more times I should say, to make the ball darker. Yeah, you can't, you have to like, I think you have to like hold it like this maybe or something, I don't know, but I'm having a hard time getting this on with this stand. So we're gonna do this twice on this ball. See how that treats us. Yeah, this stand is like impossible to use, so I don't like the stand. If you're gonna include a stand, then include a proper one. Like, I have a kicker's tee that I might switch to here for the second part of this process, maybe, I'm not sure. But I also think maybe I didn't use enough conditioner here, but it's hard to tell. I'll just have to stand up. So we're gonna grease up each panel here. It is definitely slick with the conditioner on, and so I understand why you wanna wear gloves for this part. Like I said, I'm not skipping the stripes. You may also skip the stripes because they don't want you to get color on it and then blame them for dye bleed, which I've talked about on the channel before, but honestly, it doesn't matter. The ball's gonna feel the same with the painted on stripes. I'd actually argue that it feels the same even with the stitched on stripes, but that's neither here nor there. Okay, so we got that. Again, I didn't do any dye removal, no shaving cream, no nothing on this ball. The process doesn't call for it, so I don't know. I'll also say that the stand will mark up the ball a little bit. So I'm gonna actually get the kicking tee for the next layer here. Not that it matters, as soon as you rub it in, it like brushes out anyway, so. Okay. So we've done it, one coat here. I think it's pretty evenly applied, looks evenly applied to me. It's definitely darker in the leather already. We'll wait an hour and we'll come back. Okay, we're back. It's been about an hour and change since the second coat. Like I said, I used a dollar-sized amount for each panel, or $50 sized amount for each panel, so about a quarter worth on the rag, and you can see the rag did take quite a bit of the color off the ball, but this is definitely darker and slick. Now we have to, according to the instructions, brush again for 1 to 2 minutes per panel. So let's do that. Okay, so this is how the ball looks right now. It's dark. It's not really sticky, but it's also not, slick either. So this is a pretty good feeling ball. right now. That conditioner definitely different than the Wilson conditioner, for sure. I don't know what the differences are, but there is definitely something in that that's making it a little easier on the ball after brushing than the Wilson stuff did. That brush, by the way, tons of dye, but it's not leaving much on the stripes, if anything. And now we're gonna do the mud. I think part of the process, so I brought a shirt out here just to put the ball on. Oh my God, I'm out of breath. I gotta work on my, my brushing cardio. So the prep butter, wear gloves, shaker stir container, work into a paint consistency. I'm guessing that's smooth. If you've seen the videos I've done on my channel of the mud that I use just from my backyard, I try and get it to that consistency, but it's hard, I have to admit. Use the paintbrush or hands to apply to each of the leather panels. So it sounds like you're not rubbing it in, but rather just rubbing it on. Is there a difference? I don't know, we'll find out. And then wipe away the excess. Yeah, if you get any on the white stripes of the lace with the dry microfiber towel, I'll probably do that. I'll keep the stripes and lace clean as best I can, and we'll see. Yeah, I think the paint might actually stop that mud from doing a lot of work anyway, so that's fine. I'll do that as best I can, and then allow dry for several hours. So it's 4:15 now. Maybe we'll come back at 7:15, I guess, 8:15. I don't know. We'll see. Okay, let's do it. No better time than the present here. So I'm gonna get my my stand. I ended up just staying with this stand that they give you because I'm gonna drop this camera down a bit so you guys can see a little better. Hopefully, it's not as important to see me as it is to see the ball, right? So let's do that as best we can here. Something like that ought to be okay, except that's way too high. Okay, maybe like that. So here's the ball again. I'm gonna put this shirt down here, just so I have something to work on top of that's not slick like the table. I got this shirt, it says Swerve on it. When that song Mercy came out, is that dating me a little bit? It might be, but it's just the way things go, boys. Everyone gets old. Okay, so this is not keeping a good seal anymore, I will note. I've opened it a couple times and that seal is basically not working. So I did get a little bit of mud here, but I'm gonna take this off. This mud, by the way, like I said earlier, smells like something is in it, like it's had something added to it. I don't know what, but we're gonna find out. So it's paint consistency now. I'm gonna dunk a little on the brush and go to work. I think you just do a thin coat, right? So if any of you guys ever worked for college painters, I'm gonna try and cut on these stripes. It's funny, I think every university kid has worked for either one of those college painters or golf course here in Canada. The best summer jobs, golf course for sure, is like up there. It's a wicked, wicked job. I'm gonna do this as thin a coat as I can, covering the entire ball, because it looks like on here, what does it say? Wear gloves, shaker stir container. Oh yeah, I need the gloves because if I have to touch this ball, I don't want to pull off the mud. But I do think you want it to be about as thin a coat as you can get. If for no other reason than because you can always go thicker, right? It's like getting a haircut. You can always take more off, but you cannot put it back on. This is the inverse of that. So what does it say here? Apply to each of the leather panels, wipe away excess off white stripes. So I don't know, I'm gonna use as little as possible. It doesn't really say how much to use or not use, but I will say too that this mud actually does not stick to the paint or the painted stripe. So even when I get it on there, it does like sort of on its own come off, which you may actually appreciate if you're doing this yourself, because that way you don't have to be quite as careful. This is a little bit of a, I think, a thing that the guys who do ball prep maybe don't want you to know, because it makes it seem like they're really taking care not to get it on the stripe, but the stripe kind of repels it. So there you go, a little little knowledge for you from the channel here. So I'm just trying to get around the laces. I'm painting over the logos. I don't care that much about the logos. I can always clean those after, but I'm really just trying to get up to the stripe on both balls. I'm also going to try and avoid the valve. It doesn't say to avoid the valve, but I've done a few balls myself, as you guys know, and the ball that I have from Caleb too, actually, from Grip and Rip, which is a great ball, don't get me wrong. I don't view this as an issue, but I can hear that inside there is something in the bladder bouncing around, and my guess is that it's dried mud. If I had to guess, that is what I would guess it is. So even though this stuff smells really strongly in the plastic container, I don't really smell anything on the ball, which is good. It's applying really evenly. It seems like it's really taking well to the leather as well. Kind of like, I don't want to say being absorbed by the leather, but man, sure does like apply smoothly. I have to say that. This is apparently from a riverbed in Alabama. According to, I think the fella's name is Ian. I talked to him a bit on Instagram about the product. So kind of neat, you know. I like the mud from my backyard. Ian likes the mud from, not his backyard, but you get the idea, right? His jurisdiction. Everyone's got their mud preference, right? Okay, so this is a pretty good coat here. I'm gonna turn the ball over as best I can without ruining the good work that I've done already. Something like that. Okay, continue here on the top. I am barely putting the brush in the tin, or in the container, I should say. Just because I would, like I said, much rather have too little and go with a bit more than have too much and then not have it properly absorb or have trouble soaking in or whatever. And much like painting, you know, the more you move the brush, the more you realize there is still more material that you've picked up. And so you don't need to go back to the well. Again, you can just kind of keep doing what you're doing with the brush as is. I will say that part of the reason I think maybe these guys don't paint the stripes is because if you don't paint the stripes, you can use the stripes, I should say, to kind of hold the ball a bit, which is nice. I'm taking, I should note, like much more care not to dislodge the mud or otherwise kind of move mud off of the leather that I've already gotten. Much more care on this ball than I have on the balls I've done myself with mud from my backyard. Because I do want this to go as well as possible so I can give, you know, really an honest review of the product here. I think that's only fair, right? I could do this hastily and say, oh, it didn't work, but really it's my fault, which, you know, you don't ever want to be that guy. As you guys look at a side of the ball here that has nothing on it, but don't worry, we're coming. So just get this here. You can see it dries rather quickly too. I don't know how this is gonna turn out. I have a Wilson 1005 coming to the house soon that I got off eBay. Apparently has a really friendly silhouette for quarterbacks. The older QBs in the leagues that I play in all have either this ball, the CFL ball, or the 1005. Very popular balls in both cases, and I think it's probably something to do with the narrow midline girth, though a quick AI search on Grok and a few other places doesn't really yield any results as to what the differences are. I'm just going off of feel, having thrown a few of those balls over the years in hastily concocted wide receiver option plays on the goal line. It's funny, you know, these guys, I've played with some really good quarterbacks, and no matter how old I get, they still like to have me take the snaps on the goal line because of the foot speed. Not to brag, but it's funny, right? It's a different game, the touch game, than any of the other pro games. I think in flag too, you'd probably still want your quarterback throwing, not your receivers, but I haven't played flag since elementary school, so I don't know. Okay, let's have a look. This is pretty good, I think. I'm gonna just maybe take one more pass at a few of these spots with just a tiny bit of mud, but like to me, this looks about as good as you're gonna get. I will note too that with the t-shirt underneath the stand, I take back all the earlier slander about the stand. It doesn't move that much with the t-shirt under it, but without the t-shirt under it, it's basically unusable. So I'm gonna just finish up here. I can hear that my young daughter has just awoken from her nap, so I'm gonna go play with her, do a little daddy duty. I encourage you all to do the same if you have little ones. You never know, right? Life is fragile and we should enjoy every minute of it, even if it means taking some time away from mudding our footballs. It's like sick that I even have to say that, but once you start this stuff, you know how obsessed you can get. It's not a mystery, guys. It's not a mystery. Okay, so I got a little on the laces. I just want to take a little bit, try and get as close to the laces as possible. So I get, you know, if this goes according to plan, of course, a very uniform color on both sides. And so I think I've done that here. This is pretty good. We'll see how it goes, okay? In terms of consistency of the mud, it's like incredible how thin and liquidy it is. There's no sediment in here at all. If I had time and tools, I could probably do this, but we'll see. I make no guarantees. Let's wait a couple hours here. Like I said, we're finishing at 4:23-ish. So we'll come back at about 8:30, see how things look. Okay, we are back. I think this thing is on, looks like it. In about 4 hours, it is just around 8:30. I just brushed off the mud outside, so I didn't bring the camera. It's dark out anyway, you wouldn't see anything. Looks pretty dark. The ball is like really taking that color, even though I barely used any mud. It's pretty soft. The next step now is to dampen a cloth, one of the microfiber cloths. I'll just read it to you here verbatim. Dampen the, quote, dry microfiber towel and wipe down each of the leather panels. Clean out the seams, wipe down the stripes laces, allow to air dry. Do not soak the ball. So we're gonna do that. I'm gonna, I guess, I don't know, pour a glass of whiskey and watch the Bitcoin price crash. And then in about an hour, get back at it. Let's see how it goes. Okay, so we're back. We're gonna do the last step here, I think, or one of the last steps. So now it says you gotta do the step 2 conditioner. So I'm gonna put the gloves back on, do the same quarter size to the microfiber towel. Yeah, massage into each of the 4 panels and let dry an hour or 2. So this is gonna take me to tomorrow morning, but that's fine. Throw the gloves back on here. Ball looks good so far. It's pretty soft. Colors changed quite a bit. Don't forget, this was the red leather, not the brown leather. So, you know, it's not gonna get as dark as like a GST would on the first try. At least that's been my experience with these balls. The GST like gets super dark right away. I've done a few of them now, just with like the mud from my backyard, and it always turns out pretty good. But this one looks good so far too. So let's not count them out just yet. Find a soft spot here in the towel. So it says to use the same towel as before. Just use the other side. Shake up this step 2 conditioner. Don't know what's in that, but it doesn't matter. Quarter size. See if you can find a little better spot there. You know, I know it says that you can use the same towel, but it doesn't mean you gotta be sloppy. So I'll just throw a little on there. This is like white. This looks a lot more like the Wilson conditioner does, but it's a little more watery, let's say. This stuff smells so strong. Like there's clearly something in this, in all these products that is making it smell a certain way. not that I'm complaining, it's not like a bad smell, it's just, it's obviously not, it's not the smell you might expect when you pull it out of the container. So what I'm gonna do this time, I think like I said before, I'm gonna put a dime size on, a quarter size on, do 2 panels, and then I'm gonna reapply. I probably should have reapplied already, actually. I gotta be honest, because it just doesn't feel like much is coming onto the ball after that first application. So I'm gonna do 1 for each panel, and that way I actually think you get a better result, but we'll see. I'm doing this again. I'm trying to match the instructions as best as I can, but I think there's always going to be a bit of discrepancy between what you see described and how every single person interprets those instructions. Because that, you know, dime size thing or quarter size thing is not exactly clear. Especially because on the 3rd panel, even on the 2nd panel, you start to notice that it's just not, you know, as obvious that you're applying a conditioning product. You're sort of just hoping that it's rubbing in, but the sheen and shine is not really there. So I'm just gonna give this a good scrub here. Ball's still pretty dark. One of the things I noticed with the mud in my backyard is that the mud comes off real quick when you start to rub stuff on it. So this is a good sign, I think. This must be why people pay so much for this type of thing, right? This actually wasn't that bad a deal. It was like, you know, shipped, I think $50 or something. So you get a brush. The brush, by the way, getting the dirt off, a lot better with whatever this brush is made of, the nail brush, than the Wilson brush. So like I said in the sort of beginning of the video, a lot firmer, but not so hard that you're gonna be worried about damaging your ball, which obviously nobody wants, right? So yeah, this looks pretty good here. Not much coming off this at all. Okay, massage it in real nice. Try not to wipe it off, but it's kind of hard. Put the gloves on if I'm being honest. I think it would almost be easier to do this with the gloves off, but I'm gonna follow instructions as closely as we can, just so we know that we did this the right way. Because what I don't want is to, you know, ad lib or take a few liberties and then not get a good result. But I'm pretty happy with this so far, I have to say. Only downside is this takes a lot longer than I would normally take doing a ball, I'll tell you that. So that's a pretty good coat there. Yeah, you really gotta be, I think you gotta be careful with the other parts of the towel wiping off the conditioner too, which is another bit of hassle, but a small one. So I'll just take, I still have some conditioner on the towel. I'm just gonna take it once over here, on the other panels again. I'm not too worried about getting it on the laces, stripes. I know in the instructions it does say, like, careful of the stripes if you wanna keep the stripes clean, but like I said before, these are painted on, not stitched on, so I'm not too worried about that either. Oh yeah, this is good. I almost want to say you should do the seams first so you don't sort of forget about them, but there's quite a bit of conditioner here still coming off this towel. So the gloves are important too, because you would definitely be wiping some of this off the way you're handling the ball, but the gloves just keep it on. So great. Okay, that's about it. So there's the ball in its current state. Very dark. I mean, compared to the laces, it's like a different ball. So let's see. Yeah, massaging each of the 4 panels, allow it to fully dry. Then you're gonna brush. You can repeat this again for a darker color. So maybe we'll do one more coat tomorrow, since I can't stay up for too much longer. And then after that, we'll brush. See where we end up after we brush and tack. So far, so good, I would say. Let's see how I feel about it in the morning. Okay, we are here on the next morning. I did a second coat of the conditioner last night. Ball's very dark. The red leather looks good. It's not quite brown yet, but it will get there pretty quickly. So just a couple of things. I didn't use as much mud probably as I could have, which may have affected the color. But otherwise, I think this is really nice. It's soft, not quite tacky, but we'll get there. The next step, it says, is to score the tacky bar evenly. Oh, I have to brush first, so I'll brush and then we'll do the tacky bar. Okay, dark, soft for sure. This feels almost like it's ready to throw. Okay, so now I'm gonna do tacky bar across each of the 4 panels. Allow to sit on the ball for at least an hour for first application. So like I said yesterday, this feels like it's got a little bit more conditioner in it than it does tack. It's not quite as like biting as the Wilson bar. It has a little bit of a score in it, as you can see, so I'm going to use that to get it all across the ball. I'll let it sit for an hour, and then we'll see where we land, I guess. Okay, let's let it sit for an hour, come back. Okay, so we're back here. It's been more than an hour since I had to charge the camera. Let's brush this stuff in here, see how we do. Let's take it in the other room and finish up. Okay, finished product here. It's pretty good. We'll talk a bit about the product. I want to note a couple things first. Number one, I did not leave the mud on for more than 4.5 hours, 4 hours, something like that. I forget what I said in the video, but in the past, the balls I've done before, I try and leave the mud on overnight. That way there's no doubt that the mud's been on there long enough. But in the interest of following the instructions that LBC provides, it just says leave for a few hours. Asking my wife what a few hours is, it's more than a couple. So I would say 3 is probably the minimum they want. I left it 4, and I think that's more than adequate given the instructions, number one. Number two, I'm a little concerned about this brush because it's dirty as all hell after getting the mud off the ball. And my camera just wants to focus on my face. But once you get the mud off the ball, it does stay with the brush. And that could be the case for the Wilson brush too, but it's hard to tell obviously because this brush is black, and so it's hard to see what's on there. But I do notice even when I take mud off with the Wilson brush, it needs to be rinsed and dried before I go back to brushing wax in or whatever. And so I didn't do that because the instructions didn't call for it. And I think that it may have yielded a worse outcome. Not terrible, but also not ideal. Other thing I'll note, the tack bar, like, I don't know what's in this tack bar, but the idea that you have to leave it for an hour is a little different than what you're used to with the Wilson bar, obviously. So here's the two of them side by side. This one feels a little more sticky than this one does. I'm guessing there's something in this, like conditioner or something, like I mentioned in the video. What gives you that impression? Well, obviously it's a little slicker, but the other thing is that it needing to be left on the ball for an hour tells you one of two things, I think. One is that there's a conditioning product in there that needs to soak into the leather. The other option is that maybe because of the treatment you've already done to the ball, it takes longer for that wax/conditioning product to soak in. Either way, this could be stickier, but the more I talk to breaking guys, the more I talk to you guys in the comments, and the more I talk to the vendors of these products, the more I think that actually what most quarterbacks like is a soft ball, not a tacky one. And breaking in a ball is supposed to yield soft, and any tack you put on is up to you afterwards. Do it however you like, right? Maybe use the Wilson bar or whatever. So I have to maybe recalibrate my expectations on that, but this will give you a soft ball for sure. Other thing to note, I did this in my basement in sort of the open common area. It smells in there. That mud has something in it that makes it smell. It's not an unpleasant smell,
but it ain't your laundry detergent and it ain't hand soap. So if you're sensitive to smells, maybe wear a mask, maybe don't do it out in the open. And then finally, the de-mudding, the brushing of the mud out of the ball or into the ball following the 4 hours. That nail brush that LBC provides makes it so easy to get the mud off compared to the Wilson brush. Now, it could be that the mud is higher quality. I certainly admit that it's better than any mud I've ever made. There's no sediment. It's very smooth, paint-like in texture, as the instructions say. But man, was it easy to get off. It took me like 15 minutes max, and I did a pretty thorough job. Let's talk about the ball. Do you like the color? I don't know. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. I'll try and keep it in focus here. The camera is obviously looking for my face more than it's looking for the ball, but that's okay. It's very soft. I've done brushing with this now with the nail brush and with the Wilson brush just to get the maximum kind of grippiness out of it. Let's see if you can hear. Maybe you can hear it. Maybe you can't. I don't know. I'll try it one more time. The mic probably has a filter on, so I don't know if that'll meet the noise gate, but it's very dark, it's very soft, and it's a little bit sticky. Not a lot sticky, not as sticky as I'd like, but a little bit sticky. You can see the mud did no damage to the logos. Those have not been cleaned by me after the fact on either side. They look pretty good. The ball itself looks pretty good. I maybe could have put a thicker coat of mud on this and gotten it even darker, or 1 or 2 more conditioner passes and gotten even darker, but I'm scarred after the Mario incident from Game Ready Football Prep, where there was just too much conditioner and it just was slick. Still is slick. I can't get that slickness off. So I did 1 pass and then a second pass in both cases. The instructions say you can do it 2 or 3 times if you want. I did it twice, meet in the middle, right? I would say overall, this is a pretty good product. The ball itself feels good. It's a red leather ball, which in my experience has been harder to break in. Not everyone will have that same experience potentially, but I've had a hard time breaking in red leather balls. The Duke, the F2000, famously difficult. This one turned out pretty good, I have to say. I'm not a big stickler for color. I care a lot more about feel, and this is a very soft ball. I could throw this right now, though, like I said, I'd prefer it be a little stickier. So overall, is this a buy, the LBC stuff? I would say that it is. And I say that it is, not reluctantly, but almost in disbelief, because I've been sort of slandering these products for a long time. And the more I use them, the more I realize that there is something there. Now, that's not to say that the mud is doing the work. I think the LBC guys, like I said, have added something to that mud. They're building their own conditioners, two different kinds, right? As the process calls for. They're building their own tack bars, right? Their own wax bars. And they're providing you a brush that's, I think, a little different than the Wilson brush, but I'm not 100% sure on that. So they're doing a lot in terms of customizing the process to make it friendly for you. So I would say that this is a buy. It's pretty cheap. Even if you're in Canada, if you pay for the Wilson stuff, it's like $35 or $39. You don't get half of the other accessories that you get with the LBC product. And you can do probably, if I had to guess, if I did the same thickness layer of mud, I could probably do 2 or 3 more balls with that mud. And then as an aside, I mean, if you buy the mud and you're a bit of a tinkerer, who's to say you don't try making your own? I don't know. You might think you can do it better. I'm not sure that you could, honestly. The mud feels and looks good on the ball. Easy to brush off, like I said, and sediment free. So anyway, the LBC guys kind enough to give me a promo code. So it's going to be in the description. Use it to buy the product if you like it. I don't get anything from it. I don't want anything from it. I just, like I said, I do the channel. I try the stuff so that you guys can decide whether you like it or don't like it, whether you think it's worth it or not worth it. And if you have any questions, like always, hit me up. You guys have my email. You know my Twitter. You leave tons of comments. And when I get the Wilson 1005, probably by the end of the month, I'm going to use this process again on a brown leather ball. We'll see how it turns out. I'm hopeful. Anyway, take care of yourselves. We'll see you next time.